Jr. And it's called Black Latin America. I don't know if you've seen it. It was on PBS. It's a 4-part series.
Black Latin America.
Black in Latin America.
In Latin America.
Yeah, and so he goes to Dominican Republic, Haiti, just because of that weird connection that they have. He goes to Mexico and Peru. He goes to Brazil, and he goes to Cuba. And the thing that really blew my mind, because I had no idea about this, that Mexico imported more slaves than the United States. And so that means basically,
I could see that.
Basically, if you DNA tested majority of Mexicans, they have some African blood, even though they completely reject the fact that they're black. So for this one little town down by Veracruz that still say, oh yeah, we're black. But it was crazy because La Bamba is an Angolan song.
Really?
Yeah, it blew my mind. I was like, that's insane. And like the whole Fandango music is influenced by African rhythms. And apparently Veracruz used to be considered a black town because there were so many Africans there. And it's just that the relationship that the Spanish had with the African slaves, because it was a plantation sugar culture thing down there. It caused them to reject their blackness. The first, I didn't know this either, the first black president of a independent republic was Guerrero, who they called Negro Guerrero, in Mexico in 1872.
Wow.
I blew my freaking mind. And they show the picture of him, like the painted picture, dude's black and too big. But if you talk to any Mexican, here or there, they have no connection. Which explains why there's such a huge range of skin tones in the Mexican culture. I always thought it was due to the Native American,
but I would think of course I would think that the Mayan cultures or whatever.
No,
there's a huge black Pan-African.
It's all the African slaves that came that were entered. But the thing is, like, there were so few.
So we're talking about between
Spanish women.
Even earlier, because they were coming onto the west side, right? So we're talking about from late 1500s. Until the late 1800s.
Until 1800s. Yeah, they like apparently there were like several really prominent African or mestizo leaders that were responsible for the Mexican independence from Spain. Like was it Hidalgo, the guy who did El Grito, was part African.
Wow.
Yeah, this is huge. Like, this huge thing that they completely. But that was pretty much the crux of the documentary, the series, was how
influence of African culture on these Latin.
So all of these Latin countries that were settled by the Spaniards and brought in all these slaves, and even though the Africans or the mulatto people played a huge part in the formation of their nation. All these countries whitewash it. If you look, and it was crazy because in the Dominican Republic, where nobody's white.
All right. So
let's
take a time out there. Let's take a time out there.
Yeah.
Okay, because this parallels with a ton of things. Lighter skin in India makes you more better. Lighter skin in all these places. So now we're talking about it being much older than the modern era.
Yeah.
And we're talking about it. What I want to know is why. Why is it that the favoring the lighter skin, was it to appeal to people of lighter skin? Do you see what I'm getting at?
Well,
is it to appeal to the empire?
Well,
is it because you want the empire?
Yeah.
Basically, the empire, the Spaniards and the Portuguese and the British and the French and the Dutch, they're all there, and so are all these places do it because the more you do that, the more you're appeasing the empire.
The more that you're appealing to the United States empire, because that's what it was. It was.
Well, here, yes.
Yeah. No.
Right? It's all about appeasing.
All those Caribbean nations like the Dominican Republic, Mexico, all of those things back in the. In the beginning of the 20th century, the United States was doing its manifest destiny, so for them to have dealings with the United States or to get the support or the money, you had to
Right.
you couldn't have all these black people
Right.
in charge because there was, like, one of the things they were talking about how in the Dominican Republic what they did was, when after they had the revolution and they became independent state, the United States came down to protect their interest. So they sent in the U.S. Marines that occupied there for like a couple decades.
Wow.
And so what they sent was all of these white Jim Crow Southern military dudes down to the Dominican Republic to run the country. And so that had a huge influence on how Dominicans view themselves as not black. Not to mention there was a reaction because Haiti occupied the Dominican Republic for a couple decades also. And when they're talking about the independence of the Dominican Republic,
that's French. So places that were these are now the difference here is that the ones that they're bringing over from Africa are from one particular group, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the Haiti one is because they're the French.
Yeah.
And they're going to bring places where they have French slaves. So all their slaves are going to speak French.
Yeah.
And this is going to be because they're from another, right?
Yeah,
That's really the distinction here.
Yeah.
They're moving along with the language trope is what's going on.
Yeah,
right?
well, also the problem was because the Haitians were the first slave rebellion that worked.
Right,
correct. And so
that's right, correct.
So the Haitians had embraced their Africanness. And so it was like, what so it was really, really stark contrast. If you look at the statues that were in the Dominican Republic of their great leaders, and you look at the statues in Haiti of their great leaders, both of who are black, all of the statues in the Dominican Republic all look white.
Wow.
And all the ones in Haiti have very distinct African features because they're proud of that. And that's why the Dominican Republic rejected so much of that blackness, because it was a rejection of how poorly the Haitians, when they were empowered, treated them. And that was the other thing. A lot of them didn't want to have that connection with Africa because they were afraid that the United States would see it as a threat of another slave rebellion.
Right.
And they didn't, the United States could not have all of those black people in power running a republic, because the United States refused to acknowledge Haiti as a state until years until they had the dictator that we stuck in. It's crazy.
That's amazing.
I know.
And the program is called what again?
Black in Latin America.
Black in Latin America.
There's some criticism on Gates about his treatment of Cuba. There's some like I said, there's some criticism about how he kind of he gave Cuba a huge pass on a lot of their stuff, but it's tough to make a documentary about, because it was made before we opened the before the trade got opened up, so he was relying on the beneficence of the Cuban government to be able to do this, so he had to tone it down a little bit.
Henry Louis Gates, Black in Latin America.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah, it's great. It's on I want to say Netflix or Amazon.
Okay.
That's what I don't know.